Okay, good morning everybody. Today in this class we are going to study the conditionals. This is the first topic that we have for unit number 8. In unit number 8 we will see conditionals in the second type, second conditional or the unreal conditional. But I consider it is important for us to review zero first conditional first, right? So we have in English we have four types of conditionals. We have the zero conditional, we have the first conditional, we have the second conditional or the unreal conditional, and we have the third conditional. So as you can see, we have four types of conditionals starting from zero, first, second, and third. And today in this unit, in unit number 8, page 88, we are going to study the second conditional, people. So, but as I said, we are going to have a review of zero first, and then we will see the second conditional. This is something that you have already studied, which is the zero conditional, and the conditionals start, or they have two parts. They have the if clause over here, and we have the main clause. In this case, we can say that they have a condition and they have a result. In this case, we use the zero conditional to talk about real things or real situations that can happen. We are going to use the first conditional to talk about future events, and then we're going to have the second conditional to talk about unreal situations or hypothetical situations, right? So the zero conditional. The characteristic of the zero conditional is that it has two parts, as I said, but the first part, which is the if clause or the condition, is in simple present, and the second part, which is the main clause or the result, is also in simple present. Another thing is that we are going to use the word if, right, at the beginning of the sentence, or we can make it also in the middle of the sentence. This is something that we will see later. So coming back to the example of the first zero conditional, if I am late for school, my teacher gets angry. This is basically a real situation that happens, right? And another characteristic for the zero conditional is that you can have this condition and you can have many, you can have, as I said, many main clauses or many results. You can say, if I am late for school, my teacher gets angry, or if I am late for school, I will miss the bus. If I am late for school, the school will be it gets closed. If I am late for school, my father hits me, and etc. Right? You can make many sentences with the condition or with the if clause. We have another example here. If I oversleep, right? Si me quedo dormido. If I oversleep, what happens if I oversleep? If I oversleep, basically, I miss the bus, right? What happens if you miss the bus? If I miss the bus, I am late for school. So if I miss the bus, I am late for school. The next one. If I am late for school, my teacher gets angry, right? So this is basically the zero conditional, people, simple present and simple present. The first sentence is in simple present and the second sentence is also in simple present. Then we have the first conditional, and we use the first conditional to talk about situations, let's say, that are that can probably happen in the future, right? Situations that have like a future result. In this case, what will happen if you do something? The characteristic of the first conditional is that the clause, in this case, this one, is in simple present one more time, but the condition or the main clause changes with will, can, may, or must. We use these types of sentences. So I will give you a very easy example. If I say, if I study hard, what will happen if I study hard? Right? If I study hard, I will pass the test. If I study hard, I will pass the semester. If I study hard, I will get a good grade, right? Or what happens if you travel to the United States, right, in 2021? If I travel to the United States, I will buy a lot of things. If I travel to the United States, I will visit a lot of places. If I travel to the USA, I will go to many restaurants. So in this case, we are going to use will. We can use can, may, or must. That is optional to you. But the most common in first conditional is to use will. If I go to London, I will see the Big Ben, right? The Big Ben is one of the most important touristic destinations from England, right? From London. So this is it. So if I go to London, right? What is going to happen if I go to London? I will visit or I will see the Big Ben. If I go to the Buckingham Palace, the Buckingham Palace is another one, another place that is very famous, right? And I can take a photo of the Royal Guard, right? This is another example. And this is, if you go to London, you must look right before crossing the street. Remember that in England, the cars they are driven in a different direction. In El Salvador, we drive to the left, but in England they drive to the right. So it means that when you are going to cross the street, you don't have to look to the left, you have to look to your right, right? Okay, so this is basically the other conditional, the first conditional, and now we are going to study the second conditional or the unreal conditional also. Okay, in the second conditional, we have basically that this is called, guys, the unreal conditional. So the unreal conditional or second conditional. In this case, we are going to use this conditional to talk about hypothetical situations. I mean, situations that are not real. And in this part, I don't know if you remember, but in the zero conditional and in the first conditional, the if clause changed, right? In this one, this in the zero and the first conditional, this was in simple present. And then in the zero conditional, we have simple present and simple present. In the first conditional, we have simple present and simple past. But in the second conditional or the unreal conditional, the topic that we are going to study this time, we are going to use simple past here, and we are going to use would, could, or might plus the verb. I will say this in Spanish. We use this basically to talk about situations that are not real, for example, right? Como que yo diga, si yo fuera presidente de El Salvador. Eso es algo que nunca, que no va a pasar o que no está pasando. So, entonces yo estoy soñando, yo estoy haciendo una situación hipotética. Si yo fuera presidente de El Salvador, ayudaría a las personas. That will be the second conditional. And we use the second conditional a lot in Spanish, right? If I were rich, I would buy a lot of things. If I had money, I would buy a car. If I had a good job, I would live better. If I had a big house, I would make parties every single Saturday, for example. So the characteristics, as I said, of the conditionals, in this case, the second conditional is that the first sentence is in simple past. Like this example, if I were an astronaut, this guy, right, is thinking about this. Is he an astronaut right now? No, he is not an astronaut in this moment, right? So he is dreaming. If I were an astronaut, right? He is dreaming right now. If I were an astronaut, right? But he is not an astronaut. So he is just dreaming. What would happen, right? If I were an astronaut, what would you do, right? I would travel in a spaceship, right? If I were an astronaut, one more time, I would travel in a spaceship. Would in the verb. Remember, the second thing that we have to remember over here is that we're going to use in the second part would. We can use could or might. There is no difference, okay, between the three things. So we're going to use would, and the verb is in simple present, as you can see here. So the only part that is going to be in simple past is going to be the if clause or the condition. If I were, the verb in the first sentence is going to be in simple past. If I were an astronaut, I would travel in a spaceship. Si yo fuera un astronauta, viajaría en un cohete. So let's see another example. Right. This is the sentence that we have. If I were an astronaut, I would travel in a spaceship. If I traveled, right, in a spaceship, I would go to Mars. If I went to Mars, right, as you can see, this is in simple past. If I went to Mars, I will meet a Martian, right? If I if I met a Martian, I wouldn't, right, understand him. If I went to Mars, if I met a Martian, I wouldn't understand him, right? Because they speak different, supposedly, right? So if I didn't understand him, I would come back to the earth. So another situation, people, that is very common here in the second conditional is that we have a question that is very famous, and the question that we use in the second conditional is what would you do if, right? What would you do if? This is the question that we use. What would you do if? ¿Qué hicieras si? I will make an example. What would you do if you had the opportunity to meet the president? And then you answer the question with the same structure in second conditional, but with the second part. If I had the opportunity to meet the president, I would tell him this and this and that, right? Or another question, what would you do if you won the lottery? Oh, and then you come, if I won the lottery, I would buy a car. Or if I won the lottery, I would buy a house. If I won the lottery, I would travel all over the world. So what would you do, ¿qué hicieras, right? What would you do if you found $500 on the street? Wow. If I found $500 on the street, I would buy a new cell phone. I would buy a lot of food for my family. Or if I found $500 on the street, I will pay the university, right? Or I will go to the Cameroon with my friends or my family or my girlfriend, right? In this case. So basically, this is what we use, or how we use the second conditional, people. This is unreal conditional, and we use the second conditional to talk about unreal situations that probably will never happen. So this is the sentences that we use in the case of your career. For example, you are going to become teachers. The majority of you are going to become teachers or licenciados, right? So if I say, if I were a teacher, I would work in the university. Si yo fuera un docente o licenciado, yo trabajaría en la universidad. Or if I were a teacher, I would work in a public school to help students, right? So those are the sentences, as I said, in the second conditional. As you can see, the second conditional is not difficult. It is very easy. So I have some questions that I want you to answer with the same structure. What would you do if you had $1 million? This is the first question. What would you do if you had $1 million? Please answer this question in your mind or in your homes, right? What would you do if you had $1 million? In my case, I will answer this question. If I had $1 million, I will give donations, right? If I had $1 million, I would buy a big house for my mother. If I had $1 million, I would buy a car for my father. The second question, what would you do if you had the possibility to travel to another country? Right? I have another question. Where or what would you do if you had the opportunity to go to the United States? Oh, if I had the opportunity to go to the United States, I would go to Miami, for example. What would you do if you had the chance to help somebody and you had the possibilities, right? If I had the chance and the possibilities to help somebody, I would buy food, I will buy medicine, I will buy a house, right? What would you do if you won the lottery? The next question: what would you do if you met your favorite actor or artist, right? What would you do with him or her? So, guys, this is all basically the brief explanation of the conditionals. So, I hope that you have understood this, and I hope to see you soon. Take care, people. Goodbye.